There are moments in history when power does not arrive with speeches, treaties, or dramatic announcements. It enters quietly, almost unnoticed, hidden inside the most ordinary routines of daily life. One such routine is happening right now, in kitchens and cafes across America. A hand reaches for a cup of coffee. Steam rises. A familiar bitterness hits the tongue. It feels simple, automatic, almost meaningless. And yet, inside that single moment exists an entire web of global relationships, economic assumptions, and political choices that most people never stop to examine. Coffee, something Americans consume with near-religious regularity, has become an unexpected mirror reflecting how global power actually works in the 21st century. For decades, the United States lived with an unspoken certainty. It believed that global trade would always orbit around it, that suppliers would tolerate disruption because access to the American market was indispensable. This belief was not entirely wrong. For much of modern history, America earned that position by being reliable. Contracts were respected, rules were stable, and policies changed slowly enough for markets to adapt. Exporters trusted the system. Importers built long-term plans around it. Entire supply chains hardened into place, not because of force, but because of confidence. Over time, that confidence became invisible, mistaken for entitlement rather than something that needed constant care. Brazil, the world's largest exporter of coffee, was deeply embedded in this system. Its farmers, cooperatives, exporters, and shipping networks were structured around the assumption that the American market would remain predictable. For years, Brazilian coffee flowed north almost automatically. There was no drama in it, no tension, no suspense. And that absence of tension made the system feel permanent. But permanence in global trade is often an illusion sustained only by consistent behavior. When that behavior changes, the illusion dissolves faster than anyone expects. The shift began not with a collapse, but with a decision. A tariff, announced with confidence and framed as strength, was imposed under the assumption that Brazil would have no meaningful alternatives. In Washington, the move was seen as leverage, a reminder that the United States could still unilaterally impose costs and expect compliance. But markets do not interpret policy the way politicians do. Where officials saw authority, institutions saw risk. Where rhetoric promised control, supply chains detected instability. And instability is the one condition modern markets are designed to escape. A tariff is often described as a simple tax, but in reality, it is a message. It signals how a country views its partners and how it intends to behave in the future. When that signal suggests unpredictability, markets respond defensively. Brazilian exporters did not react with outrage or defiance. They reacted with calculation. They asked whether they could still plan months ahead, whether pricing would remain stable, whether rules might change again without warning. When the answers became uncertain, the response was not emotional. It was structural. Brazil began to diversify. Ships were quietly redirected. Contracts were renegotiated. Relationships that had once seemed immovable were reconsidered. This was not an act of hostility toward the United States. It was an act of self-preservation. Institutions are not loyal, they are adaptive. When volatility enters a system, they search for equilibrium elsewhere. And this is where the story takes its most unexpected turn. Canada does not grow coffee. Its climate would destroy a coffee plant overnight. And yet Canada emerged as a central beneficiary of a trade conflict it did not initiate. Not because it competed aggressively, not because it made grand announcements, but because it did something increasingly rare in global politics. It remained steady. Canadian trade policy did not lurch or threaten. Regulations stayed clear. Costs stayed predictable. Communication stayed calm. In a world rattled by abrupt decisions, this quiet consistency became a powerful signal. Brazilian exporters noticed. Canadian importers noticed. Logistics firms noticed. While American buyers hesitated, unsure whether costs might rise again or rules might change, Canadian counterparts moved forward with confidence. Agreements were finalized. Shipping routes adjusted. Infrastructure adapted. None of this happened loudly. There were no victory.